Hi there. Hi. Welcome to McBoss Capital channel. My name is Michael Chu. This is US stock market recap video for the week ending June 26, 2026. This week we see Nasdaq going down once again. Here's the weekly chart. So a few weeks ago we have that huge drop here from the top, and then we start to rebound for 2 weeks in a row, as you can see. And then this week we give back. We once again came down below the red line, the 10-week moving average. So this is not good. Because now, not only did we not make a higher high, but we are very close to making a newer low, recent low here. So we're not that far away from that low here. On the daily chart, you can see it more clearly. It is 24,980 on the previous low right here near the 50-day. But now we are trading below the 50-day, the red line, and it is at 25,297. So once again, not very far from making a new low. So this is not good because the downtrend line is very clear now as the 10 and 21 day, the green and pink line is starting to come down. You can see it's about to cross over the red line as well. Here's S&P 500, very similar chart. Again, we have 1 week down 3 weeks ago, and then we have 2 weeks of rebound. And then this week, we actually came back down and slightly below the red line. Again, we were close to making a newer low. Here's the daily chart. 72.37 was the last low here. We are at 73.54, right? But yeah, so again, it did close in the middle range, so it looks slightly better, and it is near the red line as well. But again, this trend line from the top here, you can see the draw line across the highs here is pretty steep line coming down. So that is like, probably more than 45-degree angle. So yeah, and we failed to make a newer high here, right? So even though we rebound recently, it failed to make a new high. But we'll see, it is, at least this one is not completely below the red line. So that is the difference between this and Nasdaq. Coming back to Nasdaq, we did see also a distribution day here. You look at the higher volume selling, even though it was down 0.24%, just technically over the 0.2% mark that is considered a distribution day. So from that sense, it is a mild distribution day, but again, we are not that far from that breaking that low if it continued its downtrend. For Dow Jones, it has another new high on the week earlier. It did come down, back down to the lower of the trading range. Here we can see it more clearly. It did make a newer high on Thursday before closing at the bottom of that range. And then on Friday, we bounced off the green line and closed in the middle range. So again, from that perspective, Dow Jones is actually performing a lot better than S&P and Nasdaq. Down here, you see the RS line coming up, this blue line here. So it also indicates that it is outperforming S&P at this moment. Here's the Russell Index. Actually, this one looks really good. As you can see, it's climbing 3 weeks in a row, making a new high. And it also closed in the upper range, up 1.02% for the week. On the daily chart, you can see it make a new high on Thursday. It did close slightly low near the bottom of the range, but on Friday we bounced back from the 10-day. It actually didn't even touch the 10-day green line here, and it closed up just slightly or above Thursday's close. So yeah, you can see how this is doing a lot better on the small cap side, which represent a lot of smaller stocks in say financials and biotechs and some other areas, including industrial and retail as well. So there is some sort of sector rotation happening with S&P and Nasdaq kind of performing much poorer than Dow Jones Industrial and Russell 2000. And we'll see that in my next video. We'll go through more stocks. And we'll see some of those rotation out from some of the tech stocks here. So this is the IBD 50 ETF from CapForce. It did jump pretty good on Monday here, and it make a new high. But since that day, we pretty much have been coming back down. And then Tuesday, Wednesday below the 10-day, and then Thursday we tried to bounce back above it. It did close above it, but then Friday we came back down once again to the pink line right here, so the 21-day. So it is sitting at the 21-day. You can see the 50-day is not far away, so it won't be surprising if we come back, down here to the red line again. So that's something to be cautious about. Next, we have the 10-year Treasury note here, and you can see it's coming down pretty hard. It's already fallen below the red line. So this is kind of good news for the interest rate because it's the yield is actually coming down. This is UUP, the US dollar index here. It did climb very significantly recently. You can see that jump, and it did come back down on Thursday, but Friday, even though it came down in the morning, it bounced back. So that is a somewhat of a bullish reversal. So we'll see if this continue to climb, this US dollar. This is the oil price. It has really significantly dropped ever since US Iran announced potential peace deal that they will sign. However, over the weekend, we're seeing headlines. And here's some of the headlines here. This is Saturday morning. A tanker struck in Strait of Hormuz, and US-Iran tensions escalate once again. So it is still ongoing. Take a quick look at gold here. It has bounced back from this low here. It make a new low on Wednesday. It's definitely a little bit oversold. So we bounced back Thursday and Friday, and we're coming back to near the green line once again, but still not that close yet. So again, this is on a very huge downtrend right now. This is iShares Silver ETF, also doing very similar. You can see it hit a new low on Wednesday. The Thursday, Friday bounce really very little, right? At least from just looking at this chart here, up 1% on Friday. And you can see it's still very far below the 10 days still. Take a quick look at Bitcoin here, also near new lows here. So we did undercut the previous low here on Thursday slightly before bouncing back. But again, it is still below the 10 days significantly. Here's SMH. It came down pretty hard this week. It's still above the red line, but you can see the big drop here. It's down 7% for the week. On the daily chart, you see that it jumped on Monday to a new high before dropping really significantly on Tuesday. That was a very heavy distribution day. Volume was really high. And Wednesday, we slight little bit more. Thursday, we tried to bounce back. And Friday, again, the fact that it came back down once again, it just showed the weakness now on this group here, the semiconductor group. Here's Nvidia also coming down near, now it's near the black line, 200-day. This is a pretty significant drop so far. Here's TSM also falling below the pink line here before recovering by end of day to close near it. So this is near the 21-day line. This is AVGO Broadcom. This one also came down to the black line, the 200-day moving average. Here's Intel. Intel also sliding near the 10-day line right now. So it hasn't dropped as much as others, but it's still near the 10-day right here. Here's ARM coming down also very sharply. This is now below the pink line, the 21-day here, and it's just slightly between almost halfway between the red and the pink line. AMD looks slightly better. It is still above the pink line, which is the 21-day. It closed at the 10-day, which is the green line here. So it still looks slightly better. Here's the software sector group. This one has undergone severe pullback or correction. And in this case right now, it formed a new low on Thursday. Friday, we had a really big bounce, up 4%. Now it is near its green line 10-day here. So we'll see if we can come through that. And then we still have the pink line that is coming down hard as well. And then finally, you have the red line here, which is closer to this $90 ETF here. Here's Microsoft also bouncing on Friday. It hit a new low on Thursday. It actually undercut the previous low as well. So we'll see what happens here as we are coming back to some of the downtrend resistance level. Here's Google also continue to fall, don't bounce on Friday, so that is definitely relatively performing worse than other stocks. Here's Amazon also falling below the 200-day, so this one looks even weaker, but it did close back near that line on Friday. Next we have Meta. Meta also falling below the continue to make lower low. It's very close to the previous low here. Here's Palantir. It did bounce on Friday, but again, very far below the green line 10-day moving average. Apple also took a huge dive on Thursday after they announced they will be raising some of the cost of the iPhone, the price of the iPhone. So it did bounce back on Friday, 3%, but it's still below the pink and green line and the red line as well. Here's Tesla also bouncing on slightly on Friday. It didn't even close at the top, closed in the middle range, so it's still not very healthy in terms of how the chart looks at this moment. We also have a bounce on Friday for Netflix, also very similar chart. It came up back to the green line, but it didn't really go much further than that, and then close in the middle range. So overall, we have the semiconductors pulling back really hard. We have the software bouncing back this week, but it is coming from the bottom in general. So yeah, stay tuned to my next video where we will highlight there is some software area that is doing better. And then the rotation is happening into other areas of the market as well. So stay tuned for that video. Please follow and subscribe. Thank you all. Have a nice weekend.